You're listening to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans.
You just got to go out and express ourselves.
Fonte with a scooping header.
You just got to get the job done. I'm here to get the job done.
Подача, Остин! Все-таки забил!
It's infield to Mane, 25 yards out. Lovely ball for Keller. Onside, 1-0! Buffon shot! Oh my word!
Unbelievable. He ran around a bit like Bambi on ice. It was very, very embarrassing to watch.
And now, your host, Matt Markstone.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans. My name is Matt Markstone. I'm the host of the show, and no matter where you are, no matter how you may be listening, thank you for making the show part of your day. I hope that you enjoy it. Southampton Football Club are coming off a defeat to Chelsea at Wembley in the FA Cup semi-final, their second defeat to the Blues in the span of 8 days. And although both were defeats, they were two very, very different games. In Southampton, at St. Mary's, the Saints dominated for a period of 70 or 80 minutes, and within a 10-minute spell, completely lost control of the game and allowed Chelsea back into it. At the FA Cup semi-final, however, Chelsea took the game to Saints for the majority of both halves, although Saints did mount a bit of pressure late on in the match. And it was, again, a semi-disappointing performance for Southampton, who failed to kind of show up when it really mattered. And what I wanted to do this week is talk with a number of people, some who were in the stadium at Wembley, some who were not, some who were watching on TV, to get a couple of kind of different perspectives on the match and kind of gauge how people are feeling moving forward. As you know, now we only have 4 games left. We only have 4 games to basically save the season. So it's coming to an end quickly. And if we're going to have Premier League football, we're going to have to mount some sort of run that we haven't quite had this year just yet. So this week, I'm going to talk with Ben Chiswick, who is formerly from the UK, now lives in the States, and he made the trip from the States over to Wembley, over to London to meet up with some old friends and attend the FA Cup semi-final. And so I talked with him both. The first part of the interview was before he left for his trip, and we will end the podcast with him as well, talking about just basically after he got home after traveling all day. So we'll talk with Ben. He is on Instagram at Ben Chiswick, and the link, of course, is in the show notes. We'll also talk with Jamie Grant. He runs the Saints Report, Alf Montag, who is a friend of mine, and then Jem, who is at SFC. Jem, all of those links, once again, are in the show notes. And Jem runs a YouTube channel. Alf is a friend of mine. And so we'll talk with everybody about kind of their perspectives on the match, what they think going forward, all that stuff as we head towards the match with Bournemouth. But this episode, I should say, is mostly about the FA Cup semi-final. So that's what we will focus on for the most part. And you will not hear from me in between each and every episode. So you're going to get the intro now. I'll come back at the very end. I hope that's okay. If you want more of my voice, which I'm pretty sure you don't, but you'll hear it in all the interviews because, of course, I am talking to everyone there. So you will figure out kind of how I feel about it and how I feel about the match, how I feel about Charlie Austin's disallowed goal, how I feel about kind of all of it. And in my mind changes from the time that I first saw it to the time that I saw it. You know, I've seen replays now and I've heard other people talk about it, and you'll hear all that. And I have to tell you that I am going through some sort of kind of a weird feeling about the rest of the season. As I'm sitting here talking to you now, I feel strangely optimistic, and it's not based on anything that I've seen from the team. I didn't really see a whole lot of fight. I didn't really see the mentality that's going to keep us in the Premier League, but somehow sitting here knowing that we play Bournemouth next week, I somehow feel like we're going to do it. And just last week, after we lost to Chelsea at St. Mary's in the kind of horrific manner that we did, I thought for sure that was it. I thought we were broken. I thought we were going down. I thought that there was nothing that was going to help us. And then, of course, we go away to Leicester. We take a point away. I wasn't encouraged by that. That we lose to Chelsea in the FA Cup semifinal. Really not a whole lot to build on there. And yet still I'm sitting here thinking maybe we have a chance. And I don't know. I don't know what that is. Maybe this is my first real relegation battle. Maybe this kind of swing in emotions is what this is all about. And if so, well, I'm not sure I like it, but I'm going to stick with it anyway because I do like it. I think I just like supporting the team. And so, I hope that we stay up. But enough of that. Let's get to the interviews. I am definitely rambling at this point. I've had way too much coffee. It is way too late. So let's do it now. So, once again, you won't hear me between each and every interview. We'll kind of roll through them, in kind of chronological order. So Ben first, Alf second, then Jamie, then Jim, then back to Ben to wrap it up. And Ben traveled, thousands of miles to do this, spent something like, 14 or 15 hours on an airplane. So cheers to Ben and his fiance really for doing this because Ben's from the UK. His fiance is not. That's enough said that she tagged along and enjoyed it. So anyway, let's get started now. And I will talk to you after all the interviews are over. I hope you enjoy it and thanks for listening. We'd like to welcome to the podcast Ben Chiswick. Ben was formerly from the UK, currently lives in the US. He's on Instagram at Ben Chiswick. And the link to that, of course, is in the show notes. And we're here kind of early in the week to kind of talk to him a little bit before he has a bit of a trip ahead of him. So Ben, welcome to the podcast, and thanks for taking the time to chat with me.
No, thank you very much, and thanks very much for having me.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us just a little bit about you and where you're from originally, and kind of what brought you to the States?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm originally Farnborough, born and bred, which will mean a reasonable amount, hopefully, to most people from Southampton. So it's about halfway up the M3 from Southampton to London, so not too far. My association with Saints goes back to about 97-98 season, and my best buddy who grew up just up the street from me, he was one of about 5 siblings it was. And his dad grew up in Southampton, and when he had all his kids, he basically got a whole range of season tickets in the family section at the Dell. And inevitably, one of them couldn't go each week, so I was the guy that stood in. So he would take me. So I went to probably 15, 20 games a season, witnessed some of the great relegation escapes. So I can take some fond memories from those years to comfort me now. So yeah, that was kind of the start of my life with Saints, really. I went for a few years without going to too many games. So I went off to college and uni in the UK, and then really came back as a full-time fan, if you like, in the first Koeman season. So I got my own season ticket then in the northern end, and have really been there ever since, up until about October last year. So I've now moved over to the States, to Michigan. What brought me over here was a combination of work. So I'm an engineer, and it's Motor City. And then my fiance as well, who's American.
Okay.
And fortunately, very understanding of my obsession with Saints.
That's good. That's a necessary part of a relationship. So, and hopefully, hopefully you're enjoying it, and welcome to the country. Even though, I mean, you're still many, many hours from being anywhere near me. So, how was the winter? How was the winter? Did you survive it okay?
It was bitter. Yeah, I'm having to get used to snow, and still snow even today. So we stand here in the middle of April. But it was okay. It was okay. I mean, the thing that's comforted me all the way through that to a certain degree is the fact that I can watch Saints live every Premier League game, which is still a huge novelty to me. So I opted not to pay through the nose for Sky when I was in the UK.
Right.
Or BT. So that's been quite comforting. The ability to spend the entire day watching Premier League is great. You
are getting ready to embark on a bit of a journey. You're going back over to London for the semifinal. So I guess, based on last week and everything else, how do you feel about just going back over there, first of all, and then for the semifinal, and then also, how are you feeling about the game itself?
Sure. Yeah. It's a serious mixture. I can't wait to go back and watch them in the flesh again. I promised my mates when I left that if Saints ever got to Wembley again, I'd come back, and lo and behold, they've done it in the first season since I left. So yeah, I can't wait to get back. I've got really fond memories of last season of the League Cup final, which I would probably have cherished even more at the time if I knew how potentially hard this season was going to be.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the thing last season when I turned up to Wembley, I thought we were in real grave danger of not even turning up and being played off the pitch. That was my kind of going in position, and even though it hurt bitterly, the result at the end of the day, I think Saints were the team that walked away from Wembley with their heads held high. We outplayed Man United. We're very unlucky to lose. So I'm trying to channel all of that coming into the weekend. I mean, there's obviously the fact it's an FA Cup tie. It is different to the league. Maybe the players will have a slightly different mindset, perhaps, because of that. And there's, the phrase that people overuse, the magic of the cup. So all of that gives me a little bit more hope than I would otherwise have, I think. Again, it's a mixture when I think back to the weekend. I think after 70 minutes, when we were 2-0 up, part of me was even allowing myself to think ahead to, well, we've outplayed Chelsea for 70 minutes. If we can get even just a point out of this, think what that will do for the players' confidence, both for the league and then slightly selfishly for me going to watch them this weekend. They would have that belief that they can outplay Chelsea, that they can at least match them, and then on any given day we can go up against them and beat them. So I'm hopeful still. At least I'll probably try and lean on the fact that it's a great novelty to get back over and to watch Saints. So I'll enjoy the trip and probably will try not to overthink the game ahead of the game, and just what will be.
Yeah. And it'll be good, like you said, I've only seen them play live once and it was not a great performance, but there's the whole experience of doing it. I would do it all over again, no matter, even if I knew the result going in, I'd probably do it. And sure. I know that talking to some people who went to Wembley last year for the EFL Cup final and things like that atmosphere, that experience, it's a huge deal. So to be able to do that is, I think is great. And then you just hope that we can, like we said, as long as we show up and play, I think we'll be okay, in terms of, the day will be what it is and it'll be enjoyable, as long as the team kind of shows up and puts some effort in. But like you said, maybe obviously the game hasn't happened yet and we're going to talk again afterwards, but, maybe it's with very little pressure or different kind of pressure on them, from the league. Maybe they can go out there and just play and give us something to cheer about, even if we do wind up, going down, which, I have to wait. We'll know more after the match against Leicester, but we'll have to see.
Exactly right. Yeah, I'll guess I'll reserve my true feelings until after that game tomorrow. I'll definitely I'll stream it on my laptop at work more than likely. Luckily, I have an understanding boss. He appreciates it. He's formerly British as well, so he kind of gets it. Actually, now I say that, he's from Leicestershire, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes.
Absolutely. But I think the thing that at least gives me some confidence is that, even if we go down now, and whilst it's mathematically not certain, I do still hold out that blind faith. I do feel like we now at least could, if we do go down, we'll go down with as much respect as we could possibly salvage from the situation. I think Hughes has at least instilled some more fight in the players. I think, players like Romeu, Yoshida, the weekend, they showed some of that battle. Those are guys that come to the club having not had it so easy. Yoshida's been with us for a long time. He's seen lots of ups and downs. Guys like Romeu, he's never been highly rated, although he was at Barcelona and then at Chelsea. He struggled for playing minutes. He had to struggle to get playing minutes under Koeman initially when we had Wanyama. So, you've got a little bit of faith that those guys have got some fight for the shirt, and will fight for the results. A little bit like Ward-Prowse as well.
Right.
I think I hold a lot of, I put a lot of store in what Charlie Austin said, when he was interviewed after the West Ham game. He was as frank as he could reasonably be in his situation, with the fact that, the players have kind of a little bit sleepwalked into this situation, relying on the fact that they are too good to go down. So I think now those people are saying those things, because at least it feels like there's an honesty around the situation. The players aren't turning up and being naive and kind of in a way robbing the fans of a good performance.
Right.
So at least that's no longer the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I wish you safe travels, and I'm hoping that you have an enjoyable experience over there. And I am looking forward to kind of regardless of the result, talking to you about the whole experience when you get back.
That's great. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. Thank you.
No, have a good night, and thanks very much.
That's great. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, basically on the final whistle of the Saints' disappointing loss to Chelsea in the FA Cup semi-final. Alf Montag, you can find him on Twitter at Alf Montag. The link is in the show notes. Alf, thank you for joining me. No unfortunately, you weren't at Wembley today, but maybe best not to travel up there. So welcome to the show, and looking forward to getting your thoughts on the match. So let's first of all, just you live in Southampton or ish around there?
I live 30 miles from Southampton, so nearer to Portsmouth, but my family's all from Southampton, so
okay.
I support Southampton.
I'm gonna have to beep that word a little bit, it's like basically a curse word. But it's all right. Well, I'm glad you support the right team anyway.
Yeah.
And so I think all of us were looking forward to today, just the chance to see the team play at Wembley and all this stuff. But going into the match, what were you expecting from the side and from the team? And were you expecting to kind of get through to the final, or was it more just maybe some hope?
It was more hope, to be honest, because obviously we're not doing too well in the league, but I thought this might have been a distraction at the right time, get a bit of momentum. We could have beaten Chelsea today. I wouldn't say go into the game saying we can't, because it's the semi-final of the FA Cup. It's about the result and not the performance. So we could have played badly today and maybe nicked a goal at the end, but obviously it wasn't to be. So yeah, I wasn't going into the game thinking, oh, we're definitely not going to win, and I wasn't going into the game thinking, oh, we're not going to lose.
Because I kind of feel the same way. I kind of feel like maybe you can say the last couple of performances were improved, and maybe we were building towards something. But then when we played Leicester, we didn't really look like we were up for it. And today, to me, it didn't really look like it either. It looked like we had a bunch of fans there that were ready to see a match, ready to see the same kind of fight that we saw last year in the EFL Cup final, and it just didn't happen. Yeah, no, the fans are really good today. I was watching it on the TV with my dad and my brother, and we could hear the fans, most of the game. So they were really good today. They did the club really good, really proud. But we didn't. None of the players in the last, I'd say, after the second goal went in, apart from Austin maybe, I don't think many of the players actually looked like they could care anymore. Like Bertrand, certainly, they were on the break probably about 3 minutes from the end, and it was Bertrand just didn't run back. Like, he's the captain of our club on the game day. He was the captain, and if he's not running back, whether we're 2-0 down, 5-0 down, 1-0 down in that time of the game, and he's going to cost his team possibly a goal, like, that's not what our club is about. We're built on every player playing well, and then the fans get behind them. But if there's no effort from the players, then what is there for the fans to get behind? Yeah, the fans can only do so much until you keep kind of getting it thrown in your face, until at some point you just kind of go like, I can't do this anymore, Yeah. And I think that's a fair assessment. And I have been criticized, not publicly but privately at least, for always defending Bertrand and Tadic, and I think Bertrand, I like him, but still, you can't defend some of the attitude and kind of the nonchalantness when in big situations when you need the captain of your club to step up, But kind of going back to the beginning and to the I guess the team selection, did you have any issues with the lineup that was set out there? My only concern was the midfield. I like the fact that he chose 3 centre midfields with Romeu, Højbjerg and Lemina, but I just didn't see much attacking threat from any of those 3. Lemina is, Højbjerg and Lemina are quite similar players. Sometimes they get forward, but mainly their job is to break the play up. The same with Romeu, really, but I don't really see much attacking threat from either of those 3. So I would have thought that maybe Ward-Prowse or even Tadic would have slotted better into one of those roles. I don't know who would have come out, but just a bit more attacking threat. There wasn't much in the midfield today. There wasn't any link between the strikers and the midfield, which has been our problem the whole season, to be honest. But Tadic hasn't, for me, warranted his place in the team today based on past performances this season, because he hasn't been the same since Graziano Pella left the club. He's never had that link up with the striker, and he's never had that special relationship like he did with Pella. And that's been our problem this season, not having any link
between the strikers and the midfielders, and it showed today, really. No runs were being made. No one was making any efforts to find a hole and drive through it. So if you don't do that, you're not going to get anything from the game, which is why we don't have much. We haven't scored many this season, because our attacking threat has been non-existent.
Yeah, and I think I noticed the same thing. That was my first concern when I looked at the lineup. Is, you know, you definitely are going to be defensively solid. You're probably going to have a foothold in midfield, you would think, but you're really kind of relying on, you know, basically long chasing down a ball and hopefully it falling to Austin in the right place, and that's how you're going to get a goal, because there's really nothing else there. But then even so, I felt the first half was pretty, you know, not much to say about it. It kind of just went by. We were lucky in the first maybe 10 or 15 minutes not to concede a goal. I think they hit the bar maybe and things like that. And then, you know, the second half starts about as badly as it can possibly start with Giroud kind of making our 5-man defense look like, you know, a bunch of school children.
Yeah. I don't think that was, if that was Messi, we'd all say, oh, you know, you can't stop that. But I actually think that was a really good goal. I can't really blame, in my opinion, I don't think that's the defence's fault. That's just world class. You can't teach that. That's just a really good goal from Giroud.
I think a lot of people in the stands were probably still coming back to their seats when that happened. And I was kind of cleaning up stuff around here. And then I was just like, I had to back it up and watch it. And it was just like, man, you know, it's the worst possible start for us. But even after that, I think that was probably our best spell in the game was until we basically, from the time we conceded the first until the time we conceded the second, we looked about as good as we looked all match. It just didn't fall for us.
No, in between that time, like you said, we had that Austin goal that wasn't given, and if you don't get a big decision like that, then the team, you know, they lack in confidence, and they were already lacking in confidence before the game, and then they start getting putting good passes together, starting linking up a bit better, and then you just get a decision like that doesn't go your way, and it's a bit disheartening for the players, especially when you're 1-0 down against a big club like Chelsea at Wembley.
You know, you wonder how much of that confidence issue is going to play going forward. You know, we only have a few chances left, kind of moving away from the FA Cup now. But how, I mean, do you think this is going to affect the team moving forward, or do you think that mindset's already there? Do you think Hughes can change whatever he needs, or how do you feel about that?
Well, I think it's all about, for me, mentality, especially at this stage of the season and the position we're in. You've got to be mentally prepared. And I think that's what we lack with our players. We're not mentally prepared. We always, like, when we went to, we lost to West Ham the other week. Mm-hmm. And it's like we went into that game and we'd already lost because it was such a big game. The players weren't mentally prepared for that. They thought they'd already lost before the game had even started. And I think that's come from when Pellegrino was here, and it's like a bug that's not got away from the team since Mark Hughes has come in, and it's really hard for Mark Hughes because once the team's lacking in confidence and their mentality isn't there, then it's pretty impossible to start getting results out of players. But in terms of going forward for the rest of the season, we're just relying on other teams now, aren't we? City are currently beating Swansea. I think it's 2-0, it might be more. But we're just relying on other teams now, and that for the team, they know that they've got to rely on other teams so that in order for us to stay up, and if they know that it's not in their hands, that's not good for their mentality, because they're just not going to go out there and give it their all, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we lost the ability for it to be completely within our control, within our grasp. You know, now we continue. We've been fortunate up to this point, having teams drop points and keep us around, because we haven't. I think we have one win in 20 in the Premier League. So, You know, when you're on that kind of form, the fact that we're even within touching distance is a miracle in some regard. But we're gonna need some help, and we're gonna need the guys are gonna have to go out and win. You know, they probably need 8 points out of the 12. I think will be about enough, and that might not be, and that might not be enough. So that's asking a lot, given that we've only won 5 games all season.
Well, the Swansea game is huge, but we could be relegated before we even get to that game. So is it Bournemouth at home is our next game? I think.
Yep.
That is a huge game, and hopefully the players will be pumped up for that. It's not, obviously, Bournemouth aren't our biggest rivals, but in the situation that we're in, they're one of our rivals. It's going to be, the crowd are going to be pumped up, and I'm just hoping that the players will be pumped up too, because they need to start pulling their weight, because we can't afford to get relegated. It's just the Championship. It's just not for us, is it? How can you go from European football to how we are now in the relegation zone? It just baffles me, to be honest. And I think it only comes down to one person. Well, obviously it comes down to the players, but I think Les Reed's recruitment for the managers has just been poor, and it's all about him trying to make as much money as possible. We get Puel on, who's not really known, and we got him on the cheap, and then sacking him wasn't the problem, in my opinion. It was the right decision to sack Puel, but the bad decision was bringing in Pellegrino, who had no Premier League experience and no experience of a top elite level of football. Maybe you could say he'd done all right at his previous club, but now we're in the relegation fight because of that, in my opinion. Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope we can pull this out, because it's been the Premier League has been a good ride, and I hope we can continue, but we'll see. We'll have to just wait and see, because that's all we can do at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, will you be at the match next weekend, maybe?
If there's any tickets left, possibly. I do have other commitments on Saturday within rugby, so I'll see what I can do. But I want to get there.
All right.
But tickets aren't cheap these days now, are they? So.
No. Especially having come from America and not done the proper conversion in my head when I paid for a ticket. I was like, oh, there it is. So, but anyway. All right, Alf. Well, thank you for your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.
All right, so I'm joined once again on the Southampton Delivery Podcast by Jamie Grant. You can find him on Twitter at Granty_SFC. He is the man behind the Saints Report, both on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So, Jamie, welcome back to the show. Unfortunately, not the best type of situation, not the best performance, and that's what we're here to talk about, is the FA Cup. So, very quickly, if I can just get your thoughts, kind of, starting with the lineup from the very beginning. Did you have any worries about that, or what were you expecting kind of coming into the match?
Well, first of all, I thought the lineup wasn't too bad. I mean, I was really hoping that Charlie Austin started, which he did. There's not many players I maybe would have liked to have seen Ward-Prowse start, maybe, but generally I thought the lineup wasn't too bad considering what we had.
I think looking at the lineup, the game plan was pretty clear. It was kind of sit back, control the midfield, kind of prevent them from creating a number of chances or having clear chances, and then hopefully hit them on the counterattack with Long, and hopefully the ball falls to Austin. But it kind of just, throughout the first half, I think we were maybe a little bit lucky not to concede. And then going into kind of the rest of the first half, it kind of just petered out. Like there wasn't really anything there on behalf of the Saints going forward.
That's what. And for me, when I was looking, especially the first half, I just didn't see anything going up to Long and Austin. There was just nothing there for them, and it was for a little while, I didn't ever think they would actually see the ball in the whole game, because it was just, as soon as it started to get towards them, Chelsea just cut out and they were back on the attack again. It was very frustrating to watch, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it seemed largely one-way traffic. But, I think we saw a different Chelsea team this week than we saw last week. I think Chelsea were up for it maybe the whole game this time versus maybe not so much being interested in when they were playing us down at St. Mary's. So I think that was a difficulty for us. And to be honest, our players just didn't seem as interested or as up for it as you would have expected. When they're getting the chance to play in a semifinal and have a chance to go to a final, have a chance to have a rematch with Man United in a cup final. You would have expected a little bit more from them, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly it. For Chelsea, this game for them was massive. They're not going to. I think they still can mathematically, but I don't think they'll make the top four. So for them, this was this was their big competition to concentrate on. But for us, like you made the point of, we just didn't seem to turn up, and that was the sad thing for me, because I looked at this game as, okay, yes, we've still got our relegation battle to deal with, but this was a game for us to escape that. And I just looked at us today and just thought there was no. And I said we just didn't. I think I put it on Twitter or said it to somebody. If you can't get up for a semi-final, you might as well not be in football, because them sort of games are so rare for teams like Southampton, and just to turn up into the game and not perform, do you know what I mean, and not look up for it, it's just really sad. And I think in a way it probably sums up the whole season for Southampton anyway, I think.
Yeah, I think a number of times you would have seen us come off of a decent performance, or maybe even two decent performances, and go into a match that really meant something, whether it would be a team we should beat in the league, or whether it would be the semifinal or something like that, and us not be able to carry that forward, us not be able to really take advantage or show that we had that momentum, and that, I think that inability to build any kind of momentum or consistency in our performances is really what has us in the situation that we're in. It's been the biggest issue with us, just in terms of mentality and preparation, I think, and that is frustrating, because you know that well, at least I think the players are capable of putting in a performance. I just don't know why, after 3 different managers, we can't seem to figure out how to unlock that and how to get them to do that consistently week in and week out.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's just, I say it just saddens me. I mean, I said this season's been an odd one. I mean, to be in a semi-final and battle with relegation is really weird. I don't know. I mean, Mark Hughes is trying his best here, but he was just given such a tough task with this. I think he's improved us a little bit more than Pellegrino would, but in the sense of, as you said, with the 3 managers, we just don't seem to have gone any further with it. You get what I mean? Yeah,
absolutely. Any big moments? I mean, we talked about the first half a little bit. Not a whole lot to write home about. We get through that. We go into halftime 0-0, and this has been where kind of Mark Hughes has made his biggest adjustments, is getting guys to come out of the second half, or out of halftime into the second half, and really improve. And I think we started the second half about as poorly as we could have, giving up a goal to Giroud almost immediately. And I think that threw us off. But I do also think that the best kind of spell of the game for us was from the time we conceded that first goal to the time we conceded the second goal. I think that was where we had, maybe the talking point with Charlie Austin, where he gets called for a foul on Caballero. You have, I think we hit the post. Maybe that was after the second goal, but I think that was when we really kind of had a foothold in the game, and then it just wasn't working for us, and I think that was frustrating for a lot of fans watching. I can only imagine what it was like there in the stadium. But what in the second half kind of stood out to you as moments that kind of maybe could have changed the game for us?
Well, I think definitely the long chance where he ran. I think he got round the keeper, but just was too heavy with the ball, and I think that was a big one. I think the foul for me, I just don't understand how it was a foul to me, because I thought the keeper could have easily grasped the ball, but he just didn't have control of it. And I thought I'm not sure, but a lot of people said it was in as well. So had it not been a foul, we probably would have been back in the game. But like I said, I just don't understand how that was a foul to me. It's funny, every time we go to Wembley, we always seem to be going, if this would have happened for us, do you know what I mean? It always seems to be near misses when it comes to decisions anyway. And VAR was there this time, and they didn't even use it. So everyone was saying last year that we needed it for Gabardini's goal against Man United. Yeah, we had it today, and we didn't even use it. So I don't know if VAR's that handy after all, really.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the Austin challenge, I don't even know if you can call it a challenge. He's putting himself in position to go up and challenge for the ball. The keeper's coming kind of over the back of him, but I don't, maybe if Austin had he jumped a little higher, maybe had he been kind of like in a 50-50 with the goalkeeper, maybe he gets that. But I think maybe it's because he's seen as being slightly underneath the goalkeeper. And not that I agree with this. This is just kind of me trying to justify the decision that was made on the field. And because I tweeted, please tell me what he's supposed to do there. What is Austin supposed to do to not foul the keeper there? I don't see it. But I think even with that, I'm not sure we deserved it today. I think based on the performance, I think Chelsea were deserved winners. But at the same time, I would have not cared had we managed to pull it out, even if we would have played, not particularly well.
I mean, it was always going to be a tall order against Chelsea because I knew what the importance of Chelsea was. Like I said, they need this really to salvage their season. I said it is gutting really because I just thought it was a good chance to give the fans something to smile about, really.
Yeah, especially given what we've kind of gone through this season. It hasn't been great, and it would have been really, really nice to do that. It would have been really, really nice to come out and play, even if we lose. If you lose 3-2 because you're attacking and you give up a goal, I think in a game like this that we would have been happy with that. But I don't think that was the game plan. I think the game plan was to try to get through to the final. Maybe 1-0 or 2-1 or something like that. But it just didn't happen for us. So. Moving forward, obviously we only have 4 games now left in the Premier League season. We don't have any other distractions. We have Bournemouth, we have Everton, we have Swansea midweek, and then we have Man City at the end of the season. Coming out of this match, is this going to affect the way we move forward?
Bournemouth next weekend is absolutely massive for me. I know we've used the word so many times, but it is a must win for me because if we fail to pick up 3 points, then the other 3 games are irrelevant for me. Because like I said, it's the Bournemouth. Like I said, I'm looking at the table now. I mean, Swansea are currently losing to Man City, so that's good for us at the moment. But obviously, it's all well and good saying, results going for us. We need to do our own thing. But yeah, these next 4 games, I mean, it's going to be tense. But if we keep up with the Leicester performance and this performance with us just not looking interested, I don't think we're going to be able to fight to stay up really. Because I mean, I'd like to think that we would give these last 4 games a real go. And I mean, even if we do go down fighting. It's like you just want to see a performance, a fight. Do you know what I mean? A fight, even if we go down, but. At the moment, there doesn't seem to be any fight from anybody. It seems to me is everyone's trying to look forward to their moves in the summer.
Yeah.
For me, that's how I look at players. I mean, some people might disagree with that, but that's how I look at the players. So yeah, these next 4 games, I mean, are massive. And if we do drop out of the Premier League, normally you'd say I'm gutted, but in a way, if you look at the season, the board's persistence with Pellegrino, the not replacing Van Dijk, I mean, the Van Dijk saga. Do you mean when you put it all together, it just shows in a way, I don't like to use the word, but it's a deserved relegation. You get what I mean? I mean, the performances, I mean, some of the games we failed to win. But if we can somehow get ourselves out of this situation, then, I mean, I said it'd be brilliant for us. But like I said, at the end of the day, I don't know if our players have the bottle to get us out of this situation.
I think that's one of the things that I've noticed over the season is that when it comes down to crunch time, when it comes down to that moment in a match where you need to be mentally strong and you need to be organized and you need somebody to take control, we haven't had it. And now the next 4 games are all of that. It's we need someone in the squad to kind of take control. We need everybody to focus. We need everybody to work hard. And it's got to be for all 4 games. Otherwise, we're not getting out of it. And like you said, I'm not sure we have it. I think we were looking and hoping that maybe 8 points would get us out of this mess when we had 5 games left, and now we only have 4. And so, 9 points out of 15, and now we need 8 out of 12, and that's a tall order for a team that's only won once in its last 20. So. Right. I think it's an uphill battle, but I think the only thing we can do is continue to get behind the team. Continue to push for changes. You see people, and I think it's good. The same people often that are asking for change to be made still go to the park and get behind the team on the weekend. We're all behind the team on match day, even though. We want changes to be made, and you hope that we can both stay in the Premier League and make the changes, but it may come that in order for those changes to be made, that we have to go down to the Championship. And if that's the case, I think in the long term, I think some people would take that. But right now, it's just a kind of a bitter pill to swallow.
Yeah, because I've said the thing is, for me, I'll always be behind the team as much as it's been tough. I mean, like I said, we get relegated, as obviously me and you and all the other Saints fans will still go, even if we're in the Championship next season or the Premier Leagues. But like I said, it's just, I'm disappointed in so many ways of the season. Like I said, about the board, the Pellegrino. Well, I've said it all before, but like I said, it's just, like I said, no matter what happens, fans will always stick behind the club. They're the bread and butter of the club. And that's why it's more harder for some fans to handle this, because like I said, we just didn't see it coming. But it's just been poor decisions, the amount of players we've sold, and do you know what I mean? I mean, it's a bit, I mean, it's a massive debate in the future, really, isn't it, after the season's done with? But like you said, either way, changes are needed, regardless of where we are, to be honest.
Right, absolutely. All right, Jamie. I think we're gonna move on, and I think we're gonna talk. We got two more guests to get to, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
All right, man. Keep up the good work over at the Saints Report. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We'd like to welcome back to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, Jem. You can find him on Twitter at SFC_Jem, and he was at Wembley yesterday to experience the semifinal, and obviously not a great result, but here to talk about all of that and leading up to it. Thanks for joining me, Jem, and I hope the replacement bus service home wasn't too bad.
That's all right. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. Always enjoy talking to you. So, I don't know, we were talking before we started recording. You were on your way up to Wembley, 9:30, I think you said, or 8:30. And what were you on that trip? What were you expecting going up there? How confident were you feeling before you got there?
If I'm honest, I was not confident at all. I was sort of just going for the occasion. Obviously, we saw last week in the Premier League how quickly Chelsea can turn a game around. So obviously everyone was a bit wary of that. And for us going forward, there wasn't much. Obviously, we haven't seen a lot of goals this season. I was quietly confident that we might sort of nick an early goal, get a 1-0, similar to what we did against Arsenal, but obviously we couldn't hold it on there. But I was quietly confident. In the end, nothing to show for it.
Yeah, I think by the end of the match, I think it was clear that Chelsea were better on the day and deserved the victory. But I've seen some people kind of say, that maybe Saints deserved a little bit more. Maybe we showed some fight. Would you say that was true for what you saw maybe in the second half?
Personally, I don't think a team can deserve more when the defensive errors were so bad, if you know what I mean. Yes, our grit and determination towards the end of the second half was good, but you can't be making errors like that. We made Giroud look like Messi for that first goal, and that was mainly just due to falling asleep in the second half. I think it was something like 40 seconds into the second half they scored, and then we just sort of dropped our heads from there and sort of waited 15, 20 minutes to pick it back up again, and by then it was too late.
Yeah, see, I thought that, coming out of the second half, usually that's when the team has been best under Hughes. They've come out and been kind of ready to go, and like you said, it just seemed like we weren't quite out of the halftime team talk yet. We were still in the locker room, and guys diving in all over the place, and like you said, Giroud looked a bit like Messi. And then, but I thought that in that spell between when we conceded the first one and then before we conceded the second, I thought that was our best spell of the game. Obviously we created that chance really late on when it was 2-0 and we hit the post. But, I don't know, like as I was watching, I thought that we attempted to get back into the game, maybe not immediately after conceding, but shortly after that. And then we just didn't have enough. It just wasn't happening for us.
I agree with that. And I feel like players that did come off the bench impressed me quite a lot. Nathan Redmond especially. Obviously, he's been one of the most criticised players in the squad this season. And he came on, obviously had a little moan at Bertrand, like he always does, but that's to be expected. But I thought he really impressed me. Gabbiadini, obviously, he looks... I can't even find an adjective to describe what he's doing at the moment. I think he's gone in the summer, to be honest with you. It's just disappointing, really, because it's been an up and down season. Obviously, there haven't been many highs, but I don't know. Just don't know what to say, really.
Yeah, no, it's difficult when you kind of mentioned in your vlog, this was the last chance maybe for Saints to get something out of the season, and and then they didn't show up enough. Yeah. They weren't quite present enough, and I think that's been a complaint from a lot of fans for the most of the season, is that they're not present enough. They're not willing to or able to get up for the occasion. Whether it's games that we think they should win or occasions like yesterday where maybe they're the underdog and we've been better in that situation all season, but they didn't do it yesterday on the big stage.
I feel like yesterday as well is one of the first games this season against sort of the big teams that we haven't shown a bit of fight from the get-go.
Right.
Even United away, when we pulled off a 0-0, we looked immense at times. And yesterday just looked a shadow of the previous games. City away, probably should have got a result there. Arsenal away the other week, and Chelsea at home. But you don't get any sort of bonus points in the league for performance, and results and goals are what matter, and we haven't had enough of those.
Absolutely. And, I think early in the season, I was a big proponent of, that was a good performance. That's something to build on, and we haven't built on it, and this is one more instance where maybe we're coming off 2 decent performances, and we can't, I don't know, we can't build on it. We can't move forward. We can't kind of improve each week, and it's becoming frustrating. But I'd like to talk to you a bit about just the day at Wembley, because, there were, several thousand Saints fans there, a few empty seats, but I think that's been analyzed enough. And I think mainstream media is going to say, oh, they should have shown up and all this stuff. But if you look at ticket prices, you look at, you had the marathon, half marathon, and 10K in Southampton. So it meant the buses and things were leaving early. You had the London Marathon. It was just kind of a mess of a day to have to travel up there. But for you, arriving at the stadium and kind of being in that number, what was that like?
It was a weird feeling, to be honest with you. Getting the train up on my own from sort of Brighton area. There were a few Saints fans on the trains. You got into sort of central London, Waterloo area, and there were a few more. Obviously, Chelsea fans didn't have to leave their houses too late because they're just popping over the road, really. But there was a sort of weird atmosphere. It was completely different to the cup final, and I think that's down to how the season's gone so far. You said empty seats. I think the majority of us there were there for the day. Sort of say that we've been. Obviously, we want to support the lads for 90 minutes, but the majority of us, me included, have sort of had enough. Obviously, they've reduced the ticket prices for Everton and Swansea away, which I was considering going to, but I just don't really want to put any more money into the club when they're just going to run us down into the Championship, to be honest.
Yeah. What was the atmosphere like inside the stadium?
Inside the stadium was a weird one. From kick-off and leading up to it, when the teams were announced, we were fully up for it, firing. Chelsea looked like they didn't even have any fans there. The game started, obviously giving the ball away, second balls, and just not putting in the fight. You had the same old moaning and the groans, passing backwards. And at times it felt like we were at St Mary's. Honestly, it really did.
Oh, man. Because, I mean, that's an occasion where you want something different, but we've kind of mentioned that the team didn't really do that. The team gave you kind of the same performance that they've given at St Mary's over recent throughout the season, really. And I think when I arrived at West Ham, that anticipation was all there, and then once the game starts, once the team makes a few mistakes, it turns. And I don't think there's anything you can do, because the kind of the excitement and the anticipation can only take you so far before kind of just your natural reaction is going to take over. So
I feel like you picked a really good game to go to, because it pretty much sums up our whole season. No expectation of what we're really like.
Yeah. I was hoping I would get the one-off, absolutely dominant performance, but I guess I'm not the good luck charm, but that's okay. I don't know. Wembley, it seems like a bit of a weird one. You mentioned it was different than the cup final. What do you see for the rest of the season for us? You mentioned in your vlog, you kind of thought we were done, we were going down, and I think I'm there with you, just because I haven't seen the consistent kind of results. But is there anything the team can take from this and attempt to build on it?
Obviously, there are things that we can build on, but how many times have we said that this season?
Right.
I think we're done, to be honest. It's Bournemouth, Everton, Swansea, and Manchester City. We saw yesterday, Man City aren't on the beach. They completely demolished Swansea. I can see that happening to us on the final day. Bournemouth have still got a couple of hard games, as have Swansea. Everton are on the beach, but we seem to have a poor record at Goodison Park since we've come back up. Mm-hmm. I think we've just got to enjoy Premier League football while it lasts, to be honest.
If the team goes down, is there a particular Championship away day you're looking forward to?
I don't know. I just feel like there's more cheap ones in London, Obviously, Fulham are going up probably, but you've got the likes of Reading, Brentford. Obviously, it'll be disappointing for me because Brighton's only 15 minutes on the train and Bournemouth's the other way. But I think we've just got to, I said in my vlog, we've just got to prepare for the Championship now. Obviously, that is the defeatist attitude, but it's a big ask to win 3 of the last 4. Mm-hmm. If we had, a few more games, say if we had 6 or 7 more games, I feel like we could do something. But with 4 games to go, including City at home, I think it's done. Yeah.
No, you're asking for 8 or 9 points from the next 4. Then that for the next 12 points, and I think that's too much for us. we haven't shown that. So I'm kind of there with you, even though I hate to say it out loud, but I think at this point it's time to be realistic. So we've mentioned your vlog several times. Where can people get in touch with that, and how can they get there, and what can they expect if they visit the YouTube channel?
What can you expect from my channel at the moment is an inconsistency of uploads. I want to get back sort of into match day vlogs, so that's how my channel really started. It's simply just SFC space Gem. There's links on my Twitter and stuff, so you head over there, subscribe, like, it's all appreciated, and hopefully we'll get some championship match day vlogs next season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll put the link to your Twitter account and your YouTube channel in the show notes so people can click on it there. And hopefully they head over. So, Jem, thank you so much. I hope you have a good rest of your Monday, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much. See you.
We'd like to welcome back to the podcast Ben Chiswick. He's on Instagram at Ben Chiswick, and we spoke with him at the very beginning of the show, just before kind of previewing his trip over to the UK to go to Wembley to be there for the semifinal. And now he's made it home. So kind of didn't talk to you while you were in the UK, but I've talked to you, on either side, and now you're back. And first of all, thank you for joining the show again. I know you must be at least a little bit tired, but welcome back to the show.
Oh, thanks very much, Matt. It's good to thanks for having me.
Oh, no, my pleasure. So, we talked a little bit before, and I'd like to talk to you now just a little bit about a few things leading up to the game, and to kind of get a sense of what was happening as you were kind of getting ready to go to the semifinal. And I know you have, I can't remember if we talked on the record or before we started recording about the traditions you have with friends and stuff when you were living in Southampton or living in the UK pregame. But why don't you walk us through just kind of your morning and your day leading up to the 3:00 kickoff of the semifinal?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you just touched on, we have a little bit of a tradition. I've got a really close friend who's Belgian. He moved over to the UK from Belgium probably about 20 years ago, and he's kind of my friendship group's gateway to some really high quality Belgian beer. And we found a place that sold all of that kind of beer downtown in Southampton called Belgium and Blues, and so that formed the real basis of our pre-match ritual really for every Saints home game the past couple of seasons. So then we transferred that over when we went to the League Cup final last year. We managed to find a place just near Covent Garden, so kind of right in the middle of London, and we kind of recreated that a little bit. So we did that for the League Cup final. That was a really good time, and then we did that again yesterday for semi-final as well. So there was a group of about 8 or 10 of us. Most of the guys are from Southampton or Romsey area. So we met up with them, and their sons, girlfriends, significant others. So it was a good sized group, and we got pretty well prepared pre-match with quite a number of drinks, which was good at the time. Immediately after, it counted strongly against me. My ticket had been, they were hand delivered to me by a friend because they got sent to my correspondence address in the UK. And in the process of getting sat down, getting everyone situated, drinks ordered, we ended up moving tables, and my tickets had stayed on table number 1.
Oh no!
Which we forgot until we were pretty much all the way to the underground station. So cue me running back, full of beer, full of food, not running very fast. We were on the phone to the restaurant, to the cafe, and luckily one of the waitresses was running after us.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so we kind of met a little bit down the street from the restaurant. So managed to get the tickets without a problem in the end. So drama over. But then we were in a bit of a rush to make our way across London. So because of that, I didn't see the starting lineup before I arrived at Wembley.
Okay.
Although I kind of made a habit, particularly this season, of trying not to think about games too much before the lead up to them, because it just gets my expectations up.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a little bit of a fraught pre-match routine, but also well worth it to meet up with a lot of old friends and get some good beers as well.
Absolutely. Were there other Saint fans in that brewery or in that bar, or was it too far away from kind of the beaten path, or too far off the beaten path to have other fans there?
No, there weren't any inside, but we saw a fair few passing, and I ventured outside our hotel, which was on the Strand, early morning, just to go and get some coffee to get the day kick-started properly. And even in the probably 100-yard walk to the coffee store, there was two or three Saints fans, or two or three groups, I should say, that passed me by, all of various different, with different kits on, different jerseys on, dating back probably 15 years or so. So that was quite a good variety. So there was a reasonable number of Saints fans around, I'd say.
All right. That's awesome. And it does, the semifinals and the cup finals and stuff, they do tend to bring out the more eclectic kind of jerseys and kits versus, when everybody's, from a lot of the pictures you see mostly kind of last 3 or 4 years worth of kits if you're looking around St. Mary's or whatever. But it seems like people when the big games come, they definitely bring out the yellow and the blue and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So as you are approaching Wembley, when you said you didn't get any team news kind of until you got in, were you already at your seat by the time you saw who was starting and all that?
That's correct. Yeah.
And what did you make of the whole thing? Not so much the lineup. Maybe we'll get into that in a second. But like as you walk in, like what was the atmosphere like as kickoff approached?
It was good. I think the thing that really put everyone probably on the front foot and in a good mood was that rare for this time of year, London was particularly warm this weekend. And when we arrived at Wembley, it was pretty well bathed in sunshine, so it kind of automatically put you in a good mood. And the atmosphere was reasonably loud, and generally everyone was feeling pretty hopeful. I would say.
In terms of the team sheet, were there any concerns there in terms of the selection that Mark Hughes made, or would that be along the lines of what you would have expected?
A little bit of both, I'd say. I think it's clear now with the players that we've got, or at least players that Hughes believes are up for the fight, as he said a few times, that a back five in essence is what he's going to stick with. I think he only really has a headache when Stevens comes back into the picture about who he drops. Mm-hmm. I think we can come on to what happened in the game, but for me, he has to drop Hoot. But then my only real concern with the starting lineup, I thought was slightly strange, is the fact that he dropped Tadic to bring Lamina in. And so really between the three midfielders that we almost had three really just kind of out and out holding midfielders. Mm-hmm. And certainly, Højbjerg's shown he can be more than that at times when the match suits. And Lamina, talent-wise, he is more than that. He has to be more than that, especially for the money that he costs. Mm-hmm. But I've personally bracketed Lamina in that group of players that Hughes kind of refers to as either not having enough fight or not enough confidence is so rock bottom that their fight is gone. And I think with the way the match transpired, particularly in the second half, in Lamina's body language, some of it was awful, absolutely awful. And I think maybe in hindsight, I can probably see what Hughes is trying to do, and that we've shipped a lot of goals each game. So, although we started to score some, even if we just end up at a rate of scoring one a game, we keep conceding as we are, we're never going to win games. So I can kind of see where he was coming from in terms of perhaps trying to make the team more solid, but at the same time, he ended up dropping the midfielder, the one guy who he can drift in and out of the game in Tadic, but at the same time, he can also create something with just one touch. And I think we really lacked that in the first half as it transpired.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And, looking at that, I think the only question I had was, not that Romeu and Højbjerg and Lamina aren't good players, because I think they're all very, very good at what they do, but I'm not sure anybody, like you said, is that creative force, and Buffal, when he's in there, can make things happen when it's just him. He can create some space for himself, but Tadic seems to be able to create things for others that I don't see Højbjerg or Lamina doing, and definitely not Romeu. Romeu, belongs kind of glued a few yards in front of that back four to shield things and break play up, and I think that's what he does the best. Right. But I mean, the first half was kind of, for the most part, I would say forgettable. There wasn't a whole lot that happened. We didn't have a ton of the ball. Chelsea kind of came at us pretty hard early on, but anything kind of stand out to you in that first half, or is the real big talking point kind of the disappointment of the way the second half started?
No, to be honest, I think the first half was really, the notable thing about it was, like you said, that there wasn't much that was notable. It kind of just looked like what it was, which was, a top six team, albeit they've been out of form, but a top six team against the bottom three team, where we allowed them to have too much of the ball, but at the same time, they're good enough in position to keep hold of it. We allowed them to play it around in front of us, and that's a pretty alarming amount. yet at the same time, you'd probably have to say we were as solid defensively as we've been for a little while, I would have said. At least when Chelsea were playing it around in front of us, they weren't causing us too many problems. But when they were moving the ball forward from their own half, be that as part of a fast break or just starting off possession from their own half, and they played through us with alarming ease. Mm-hmm. Even though we had those kind of three holding midfielders,
right,
they were really playing in a really solid line, and then the back five really were also in a solid line, and there was a lot of space in between that the likes of Hazard and Williams could move seemingly at will within. And as soon as they start moving across the pitch in that space, it started pulling people out of position. That being said, we got to the end of the first half, and although we'd been far from sparkling at the same time, the fact that we hadn't conceded, I at least felt there was kind of a basis, a bit of a foundation for us to build on in the second half.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I guess I would have thought the same thing. I thought that going into halftime, that was what we needed to do, was to get in there and be even, or be close, be in it still. And we were, granted that I think Chelsea were a better side in the first half, but usually, or it seems over Mark Hughes' kind of short tenure, that the halftime team talk seemed to be his specialty. He seems to have done a great job most weeks, bringing us out for the second half and being kind of on the front foot and being well prepared. And even if it kind of falls apart later on, like we saw last week against Chelsea, this week basically from the second half kickoff, the whole kind of game plan just was shot when obviously the ball was played forward to Hazard, and he played it over to Giroud, who basically ice skated his way through, or slalomed his way through all of our defenders and some of our midfield, and managed to put it in. But what did that do to the Saints fans, to the crowd in the stadium when he did manage to put that ball in?
Yeah, I mean, the start of the second half was, the first minute or so prior to Giroud getting the ball in the net. Yeah, it was really, really quiet. There was a lot of empty seats, a lot of people at half time still having a drink or whatever. So it was really just people getting back to their seats, getting settled, before they started to get back into the game. So it was quiet when he scored, and then it really remained quiet as I think people returned to their seats and obviously saw that they'd missed a goal and we were 1-0 down. So I'd say any kind of foundation and an amount of confidence that fans and the players had got from the first half and going in 0-0 and going in level really kind of had evaporated at that point. So, yeah, it was very quiet, at least at one end of Wembley for a little while.
Yeah. And I guess the other big talking point is our chance, or our goal, that obviously Austin was called for a foul as the ball kind of went up in the air. And I try really hard to be, and this is going to sound weird to people who are listening now, because I've spoken to other people before and I had a one view of it. And I think as time has gone on, I've seen a couple more replays, and I've heard some other people talk about it. And I think I'm always much more critical of my own team than I am of the opposition team. And I think I do that. I know my kids will feel that way. I know, all my students will feel that way. I'm much more critical of my students and all this stuff. But I think part of it is I just want us to be better. But, when I look at that, I think it's going to be called a foul on Austin almost always if a goalkeeper goes down like that. But I've heard other people who, would traditionally maybe not stand up for the little team or for Saints. And they're pointing out that this is the second time that we've been kind of done over by a dodgy call in a big match at Wembley. And that, what is Austin supposed to do in that situation? But what was the fans' reaction, and what was your reaction when, I don't think any kind of alarm or anything went off in the stadium that it was a goal, but when a ball was that close and the foul was given, like, how did you feel, and what were the people around you saying, and at what point did you realize that actually the ball did cross the line?
Yeah, it was. I mean, the instantaneous thing was real disbelief, because at that point in the game, if I remember rightly, we were carrying a little bit of momentum, and we started to show some fight, which, at least that's the thing that after the first goal, I thought, well, the worst thing now is that we implode like we have done however many times this season, and that's just embarrassing and poor to see as a fan. But we were carrying some momentum and we really started to just get a foothold back into the game. So at the point at which that goal or not goal happened, all of a sudden everyone's on the up and really feeling, hang on, if we can get one back here, all of a sudden, Chelsea aren't out of sight. They're only 1-0 up, although, it felt like a little bit more after taking kind of a pummeling in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of optimism. I mean, it was real just disbelief again, similar to last year that that we hadn't been awarded that goal. But I'll kind of go back to your point that at the same time, it seems like the stand of position in a situation like that is to give the keeper the benefit of the doubt. And I guess, despite the occasion and the associated extra disappointment at the same time, I'm sure there's been times this season when we probably had the benefit of that doubt where if, a foul hadn't been called on our keeper, then someone on the opposition team would have been there to put it in the back of the net from close range. So, disbelief, but at the same time, because I don't feel so hard done by, or not at least like I did last year. Last year it was clear we were the better team and we were on top and we should have won that game.
Right.
And we were kind of robbed in a sense, if you can ever really say that. But it was just disbelief, and I guess kind of at the same time, everyone around me had a bit of a well, here we go again. This is just another point this season of, and then so close to going our way and hasn't, and that's it does feel as though that's the way the season's going.
Yeah. And, like you said, last year against United, that was a game where I think, I don't blame referees very often. I try not to, but that was a game last year where that was taken from us. This year, I think if somehow we managed to get a second goal in there, maybe that Austin goal changes the game, gives us some momentum. We managed to go up 2-1 and hold on. I think Chelsea would feel extremely hard done by if that were the case, simply because I think they were, I would say for almost the entire 90 minutes, the better team. And, it's just the way it goes. That's a top 6 club. They, despite league form and everything else and what's going on behind the scenes, they have some extremely good footballers on their team, and they showed it. And we should talk just very briefly, I won't keep you too much longer, about that second goal that they conceded, because once again, it's a fresh center forward coming on to face our defense. He finds his way to the back post between Hoot, who was on that side for some reason where Bednarak was most of the game. I haven't watched it back enough times to tell you exactly how he got there, mostly because I'm just appalled at the way he doesn't jump when Morata goes up for that. But at that point, was it clear that it was over?
Yeah. As soon as that went in, it was very clear that there was no way back into the game for us. Prior to that second goal, like I said, we were carrying a little bit more threat, a little bit of momentum, and I think at that point Hughes hadn't changed things around too much, and it at least felt things were starting to click, and it was just another one of those. Well, we do have some good players, and when things do click for us and we do get some confidence, we can play some good football. But as soon as that second goal went in, then it was clear any amount of fight that we've had in us and spirit to come from one goal down. At that point, it was all but evaporated. And I would agree with you. The fact that he doesn't jump, but I would extend that really far outside this game. That so many times this season when we've conceded, Wesley Hoot is the guy, and I never really like picking out players and singling them out.
Sure.
A lot of people say, Hoot's the problem. Hoot's the problem. Pin everything on him, and that's why we're at the bottom of the table. It's not, but at the same time, I can't get away from the fact that every time we concede a goal like that, it is Hoot. And as good as he looks on the ball, and as much as he can do in possession, in a little bit like Van Dijk, a little bit like Anway a few seasons ago. At the same time, if you cannot go up and contest a ball like that, which, don't get me wrong, it was a good quality ball into the box, but at the same time, it wasn't like the players hit it first time, they're on the break, people are out of position, it's got a lot of pace in it. You can see it coming.
Right.
And if you can't do that job in a really solid fashion, then it's no wonder that we keep leaking goals.
Right.
And at the same time, he's also the first one to turn around and blame the players around him. And as a fan, he's paying money to go and see the team. That really does get me. Really, really does upset me. And I mean, I can't remember how much he paid for him, but I think it was 15 plus, probably closer to 20 million. And I don't see him fitting the bill. Certainly if he goes down, I don't think he does. I think he's really got to step up. I dare say in the past we've been lucky when we bring in central defenders where that partnership is one of the most important partnerships on the pitch. We've been lucky that whoever we've had coming in has been next to a very experienced player, be it Yoshida or Font or Van Dijk. When we had Stevens come into the team last year, it's a little bit shaky at times, but when he was next to Yoshida, you can't really hope for a player with more experience, in time we did look a bit more solid, and I'm sure we'd probably have a slightly different opinion of Hoop if he was playing next to Font or Van Dijk, rather than having played next to Jack Stevens for the whole season. I don't like to focus on him particularly or single him out, but at the same time, it's a trend that you can't really ignore, unfortunately. And I think opposition teams can see it, and I think we don't force teams to play particularly well to beat us. Chelsea are a great team, but they didn't have to work very hard to beat us yesterday.
Right.
And I don't think many teams, when they beat us, do have to work very hard, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, you can teach defenders to, better position themselves. You can study film for that, but it's a little bit different when you're just trying to teach a guy to jump, You can tell him attack the ball over and over and over again, but that's a mentality thing that maybe just isn't there. And I mean, he didn't even look like he was in the proper position to even go up to contest that. And, kind of once that went in, I think that was, like you said, any remnants of hope that we had was fully extinguished. And it was just about, I guess, for me, it was kind of about just seeing out the rest of the game and hoping maybe something happened, and it really didn't. But,
I'd say after that second goal, the only good things that happened for Saints really was Swansea getting beaten 5-0.
Yeah.
And damaging their goal defence. Probably the only other thing of any note was the fact that it looked like, from where I was sitting, he switched it up to a 4-4-2.
Yes.
In the last 10 minutes or so. And whether it was Chelsea just deciding that they didn't have to push or chase the game, which they didn't, or us becoming more effective, we did look a little bit better with two up front, but then Redmond and Tadic on the wings.
Mm-hmm.
So that is perhaps something to use to take note of, but at the same time, he's only got 4 games left to play, so it's not how much he actually manages to use that, I don't know. So we'll see then.
Yeah, and I've been kind of looking forward. I've been kind of thinking it's going to take somewhere in the neighborhood of 36, 37 points for us to stay up. But there is the chance though that Swansea obviously getting beaten by 5-0 by City. Maybe they fail to pick up a few more points, and it could be that match against us last week of the season, not the last game week, but the last week of the season, proves pivotal when we play them. And I think they have to play Stoke on the last day of the season, and they could be in a situation where one of them wins and one of them stays up, and the loser goes down, or perhaps they both go down. I think it all just kind of depends. But we're going into a match with Bournemouth this weekend. Where do you see the team going? Do you feel confident that they can possibly stay up, or do you think that this is the last we're going to see of Southampton in the Premier League for at least a season?
The way I always think of it, and a friend of mine puts it very well, when he said to avoid relegation, you have to be better than just 3 teams in the league. And I think that's actually quite a neat way of putting it. And, I always come back to do we have a good enough squad and a good enough team? Of course we do. We're better than a lot more than 3 teams in the league. In terms of how we're playing at the minute, yeah, we can beat West Brom, for instance, we're better than them, maybe so. I really do see it just as a 2-horse race now between us and Swansea to stay up. I think it could get interesting towards the last game, because Huddersfield have got a really difficult run, and they could somehow see themselves dragged backwards into it through kind of no fault of their own, really. But I do see it as a 2-horse race between us and Swansea. I think this weekend, I I've got no idea how many times I've said, this game's a must win this weekend. I've said that a lot of times lately, but I think really if we don't beat Bournemouth this weekend, then frankly all of my hope is gone without the window. For me, we have to beat Bournemouth, but then in striking distance of Swansea, and we have to go and beat them. And really from then on, it's just a case of, can we match their result and stay just ahead of them?
Right.
Or is there going to be another team that gets dragged backwards into it? That's the way I see it. And I'm trying to remove some hope and some emotion from it and look at it mathematically. And we've survived slightly worse positions as have other teams in the past. So, when I look at it in those terms, I always think, yeah, it absolutely is doable. And so I don't want to start comprehending life in the Championship and how on earth I'm going to watch the games next year.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But at the same time, if I then look at it with a slightly more pragmatic head on, and I think, well, are we good enough to put some sort of run together over 4 games where we at least play well and string together consistency of performance, if not picking up points? And I think, we can do it, but then I temper that straight away with, when have we done that at any point in this season?
Right.
Put 4 games together back to back, more or less.
Yeah.
We just never have. So, at the minute, I do retain some hope, which I think will be bolstered by a solid win this weekend, and yet would be completely wiped out if we lose. So it's a knife edge, as it has been for a while now.
Yeah. And, it's got to be completely cleared now to the players as well, that this is, time is running out to just focus on the game after. We'll do it next time. Now they have to do it. Otherwise, I think it is over. And I'm in a much, despite losing at the weekend, I'm in a much better place than I was last weekend in terms of how I feel about our relegation survival hopes. I said for the first time last week, I think, on the podcast that I thought we were down, just based on, I didn't think we were going to be able to pick ourselves up after the manner of the defeat to Chelsea. So I hope that I'm wrong. Hopefully me and you can enjoy some nice, easy watching of the Premier League instead of crawling around on the internet to find some internet streams. So, but Ben, thank you so much for talking with me. I know that I appreciate it. I appreciate being able to talk to you on either side of the trip, and I'm glad you're home safely, and I hope that you and your fiance rest up and are ready for work tomorrow.
That's great. No, thank you very much, Matt. We'll enjoy some sleep tonight and get back into the routine.
All right, sounds good. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. What you do, Matt. Bye.
That does it for episode 68 of the Southampton Delivery Podcast. Once again, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed it. Sometimes I sit here and wonder how many of you guys actually listen to the credits. I hope it's a lot of you, but I don't know. Anyway, special thanks to the Saints Report, who partners with this podcast each and every week. Make sure you visit the Saints Report for all your Southampton FC news and needs. They are on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The links are in the show notes. Also, shout out to the We Are Southampton page on Instagram. Matt, who runs the page, did the logo for this show. He's been a guest on the show. He's been a huge help, so please make sure and check out the We Are Southampton page on Instagram. All the music for this show comes courtesy of the Free Music Archive at freemusicarchive.org. The intro song is Epic Song by Boxcat Games, and the end of show credits that you're listening to now is Aim is True by Poddington Bear. The links to all the social media channels for all of the guests this week are in the show notes. Be sure to check them out. If you're interested in getting in touch with us, you can do so on Twitter or Instagram at SFCDELL_IVERY or Facebook.com/SFC Delivery. Be sure to drop us a line. Let us know how we're doing and share the show. That helps a lot as well. If you're a first-time listener, be sure to subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher, Acast, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, or wherever else you get your podcast to be sure you do not miss an episode. And if you've been listening for a while, please consider leaving an iTunes review or a review wherever you listen. That also helps spread the show. We will be back next week after Bournemouth, hopefully talking about 3 points in a sustained fight against relegation. Because there's an alternative there, but I don't really want to talk about it just yet. All right. I think that is it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. As always, let us know how we're doing. Really helps. We always look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much. And until next time, remember that together, we march on.